Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of The Business Therapist. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host today, Arnell Tanyag. Hello, Arnell.
Hello. We got a special guest for today.
I know. It's awesome. I know. So Tim Jones. Hello, Tim. How are you?
Hey, guys.
Tim is a client of yours, or has been. Is that right, Arnell?
Yeah, he's a client of mine. We've been working together for years. We've known each other for almost 10 plus years.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. How did you guys meet?
I can't even remember. I mean, they probably knows better than I do. I can't remember.
So this is back in Arnell's BNI days when he was area director for BNI.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recently joined BNI, and Arnell was one of the first people I connected with. He connected me to quite a few people, and I just found him to be a great resource. And so even as he moved on into other things afterwards, we just always stayed connected.
That's correct.
That's awesome. I love it. Tim, give us a background on what you do so everybody listening can kind of orient themselves to this conversation on marketing.
Absolutely. Again, Tim Jones, founder of Eternal Works. My wife is my business partner. That's always fun.
Yeah, nice.
Definitely always exciting. And so we do branding and online marketing with the focus on inbound marketing. We're a HubSpot agency partner. We tend to work with assisted living facilities, communities. We work in the IT SaaS space, and we also work with architects and engineers.
Do you work just locally, or do you work nationally with these people?
No, we work nationally. We've even done some work overseas for a few companies, so that's been pretty
cool. Awesome. There's a lot that goes into inbound marketing. I mean, are you writing blog posts? Are you doing Facebook ads, videos? Like, what do you do in the inbound marketing space?
Yes, and yes.
Yeah, right.
Right. So we tend to assess the client's need a bit more and try and really focus in on what's going to work best for them and what their product is. So it's going to vary from vertical to vertical how we approach that. But it's writing blogs, it's producing social posts, it's producing paid ads. It can be writing scripts for chatbots and building those out. Landing pages, offers, in some cases, video, presentations, webinars, different things. Yeah.
I'm sure you see this. I feel like marketing right now, with as much technology has evolved, there's a lot of people that are like kind of left behind. They're like, what do I do with marketing? So it's cool to find people who can kind of come in and help.
Oh yeah. Especially now, I think marketing is great as it is if you know what to focus and who to go after, but it's very overwhelming. And most business owners try to do it themselves, and that's where they get really frustrated.
That's actually a great segue, because I feel like a lot of times it's easy to get sidetracked by the tool, right? Like the blog post, the Facebook ad, the video camera, the stuff. But there's actually, I feel like there's something that happens before. We were talking about this before we hit record, but there's something that happens before the tool in order to make the tools effective, right? Which is talking about, like, figuring out who it is you're really marketing to. So I'd like both of you guys to kind of talk about what you see because both of you guys are interacting with clients who don't know who they're talking to in their marketing. So kind of describe the problem so people listening can see if they fit in this space or not in terms of the
what I'll find out, and Tim not gone back a long time, and Kim has, even as much as I have. I think when we go on starting business, we think everybody's a client, right? So we go out and test the market by getting people signed up. But then you find out they're not profitable, financially or emotionally. And then you find out you get a bunch of these people on board, and then they're dropping like flies. You don't understand why. Like, I was at a networking meeting this morning, and everybody was like, we're looking for clients who value our services. I'm thinking, that's because you're probably not targeting the right people. So and it was interesting, because I'm like, and you're not targeting the right people. If you're targeting the right people, they'll typically value your service. That's why you have salesmanship. But I think the challenge is I think when we start a business or been in the business, a lot of times we don't dive deep in what we specifically is profitable, or we don't look at what the ideal client or the persona. And I think when I work with people, it's very hard, because then you can help them figure out, okay, we can get your operations higher, but who do you target? Because if you target the right people, then you can actually adjust your marketing, your communication to those groups, those people. But then people do the opposite. Let me just go get the person, then I'll try to target my operations around it. But then you figure out your operations is not profitable because those people are not making any money.
Right.
And especially for small businesses, because they think I'll just get anybody and everybody. And then literally you look at it, you're basically barely making enough money at all, because you're targeting the wrong people.
Tim, how does it play out for you? Like with the SaaS companies and retirement communities, like how does that play? Because that's not a solopreneur type of organization. How do those guys get stuck thinking about who they serve?
So it's interesting, right? Like Arnell brought up a lot of really good points as far as most people think, okay, I do X, Y, Z, and they have a business or they have something that needs my service and they have money, right? And so they assume automatically that that's a good fit. From our perspective, the challenge we tend to come in and face is we're trying to tell them, hey, look, let's not focus this about you. Let's focus on the people that you're trying to connect with who qualify at a different level. They have a pain point that you can solve, right? They have the revenue to afford what you're selling. And then let's go back to that pain point and let's offer them a solution that solves that problem instead of trying to build out, hey, I do this, I'm an expert at this, and so let me find people who need that. Let's find that mutual fit and put the customer at the center of it and then build everything we're doing around that. So that tends to be what we focus on or what we try and educate people and kind of flip a little bit the way they think about their customers. Because otherwise, again, they're going to take their widget and just try and sell it to anyone who has the money to buy. And if I look historically at even where I started, it was, I'm a graphic designer, I'm an illustrator, you have a business, you have some money, we should work together, right?
Right, yeah.
You know, and that's just not the truth. For a lot of different factors. It may be, yes, they have a business, but you know, they just started a week ago. They can't afford to have a graphic designer come in and design all of these things. Or they're a much larger company, and it's just me, and there's no way I can alone solve their problem, right?
Yeah.
So
how do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how do you? So, are you saying do you start with the problem? Like, where do you start in this process of identifying who you're really wanting to serve?
It's not always so cut and dry. I mean, it is a process. I always tell people that your personas are living, breathing tools, right? So as you get better at identifying and targeting, you're going to update them over time. But they're fictional representations. So you're going to build them out and you're going to start off and you're going to say, this is the one I think will be the most profitable for us. We'll build out their demographic information. We're not going to stop at their demographic information. We're going to stop to talk about what makes them a good persona for you, right? And so again, you may say, well, we know they have the finances to afford what we do, right? We know that they're in an industry or in a role where they can make a decision to actually do what we do.
That's good, right?
And then maybe it's something like they have a specific challenge that we definitely 100% solve, right? So we
give me an example.
Okay, so great. I'm trying not to, I just did I just worked on one last night, so I'm not trying to throw, it's in my head and I'm not trying to throw their persona.
Yeah. I'll give you one. I'll give you a good example. Like, you know, I reviewed, like with Tim's help, I did a branding strategy with him, and I looked at all my clients, and the ones who stuck with me, who see the value, who get energy back and forth, are the business owners who want to hire staff. I just got off the phone today with a gentleman who went on vacation. He goes, Arnell, man, I really appreciate that you're helping me work with my staff so I can take time off. He took a week off, and he's taking another week to Florida. He wants to basically build a dream house in Florida and be one of those snowbirds. Yeah. He said, I want to do it in 10 years, but like, why can't we do it in 3? He's like, man, I am excited. I just love working with it. Now, if I talk to an independent contractor, you know, no offense, Chris, but realtors, oh, I'm happy making $100,000. Like, well,
yeah.
I'm thinking as much as I love that industry, but the persona of building the business, different from just replacing income.
Right.
So what happens is I realize is that I have to, even for me, what Tim helped me last year is I'm moving my business to finding business owners with staff, because you're the guy in there. I'm the guy that talks the stuff out, keeps them motivated, keep them excited, keep them off the ledge. And I've been doing that for years, but I didn't realize that those are the ones I needed to target all the time, because I kind of got so busy just trying to run the business and getting a bunch of people in. And a business owner who's really committed, they don't have a problem signing a 6-month, a year contract, because all you're doing is helping them. I mean, his branding and strategy helped me. That's why I have him here, because I'm trying to think, you got to really know who you're targeting, because not everybody's a good target for you.
Right.
I would imagine too that, so with that example, right, as you talk to somebody who has a staff who wants to be a snowbird, who wants to have like you start to get really clear about the problems, the pain.
That's correct.
The things that are getting in the way, which allow you in your, if Tim, to throw it back to you, like which allow you in your marketing, your inbound marketing, to actually write blog posts that are relevant, create videos that are relevant. I think what's happening in the noisiness of marketing is that everybody's trying to broadcast to everybody. And so this is why it's noisy, because it all just sounds like a bunch of cliches that we're all putting up on our Instagram wall with, you know, the next motivational quote. It doesn't actually speak to me because you're not in touch with my pain. Is that right, Tim? Is that?
No, you're absolutely spot on with that. And so here's I'll speak about this a little more vaguely, and this will be helpful. So say one of your personas is a 35 to 40-year-old female, and you're opening a lounge or some place for her to hang out at night, right? Like understanding who she is and really getting in her shoes, you start to understand the questions and concerns that she may have, right? So if I'm talking to this 30 to 40-year-old female and I want her to come to my establishment, then what I need to do is one of the things I need to understand is that security is an issue for her, right? So I can't just say we have a secure location with the security guard on staff. I need to be more specific. Right? What does that security look like? Are you talking about cameras, right? Are you talking about some guy that didn't graduate college that you just threw a uniform and a little metal badge and gave him a taser with no training? Like, what are we talking about here? Or are we talking about a police officer, former Navy SEAL with a ton of training? And even in that, you know, is he going to walk you to your car at night? Or because we're worried about that, are we going to have lighting in the parking lot and have a valet service so you don't even have to worry about being walked to your car, because even that security person from a female perspective could be a potential offender, right? So when you understand your persona, now I can get very specific with the conversation that I'm having with them. And so these are things I can put in my marketing materials. These are things I can put on my website to address those concerns specific to them. If I'm just talking about all people, then those things are not the things that cross my mind, because you and I, when we walk out of a building at night, we just walk to our car. I don't need an escort. I don't need to look over my shoulder and see behind me as much, right? I don't feel that same concern.
Yeah. When you said that, it made me think of also not just what you say in marketing to be relevant to your audience or your very specific target market, but also how you customize your service.
Yeah.
Because if you get really clear on that, maybe you do want the Navy SEAL, right? Or maybe you don't need the Navy SEAL. I mean, it's just it all depends on who you're marketing to, because that will dictate not just your marketing, but also the service and the way you package that service.
Absolutely. And that goes back to what I was saying about the customer-centric piece. When you understand that customer, exactly what you just described is what will happen. You'll say, you know what? We're going to have the Navy SEAL guy inside. We're going to have him in plain clothes. We'll tell you who he is. You'll know what he looks like. But he'll be in plain clothes so everybody feels comfortable. But also we'll have the valet outside, and we'll make sure that the lights in our parking lot are on till, 2 hours after we close or whatever. You know, and that creates a completely different experience. So it's your marketing, but your sales and your marketing are a continual thread throughout their entire experience.
Yeah. Arnell, what do you see from this perspective? Like, I feel like, well, let me say it this way. I feel like most people get this concept intellectually. They're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, cool. Like I get that. Like we could have a Navy SEAL guy. We could have a bright lights in our parking lot. And then when it comes time to actually pull the trigger on it, the biggest objection that comes up is, but I'm going to miss out opportunity, right? If I just put all my eggs in the basket of this particular persona, then I'm missing all the opportunity out there. How do you respond to that? Or what do you think about that, Arnell?
Yeah, I tell people, do you want people chasing you down, or you want to be chasing people? Because I'd rather have strong word of mouth where people go, hey, I got a business, I got employees. I've heard you help them. Like I give you an example. I had a gentleman a couple of years ago found out, he goes, hey, I need to train some people. I need to train my staff person. And he found me through word of mouth, and he's been a client for like 2 years, and we meet every quarter. He's a great client. Shows up, does the work, pays on time. I was like, God, I just need 10 more of those, 10 or 20 of them.
Yeah, right.
And he found me. I was like, man, I just need 10 more, 10 or 20 or more of those. Versus I got to go the 10, 15, 20 network events. I got to do, and I complain about probably when you don't know your persona, you can't create that direct word of mouth. People can't find you. And then you got to go market everywhere. You got to, you're spending your time, you're burning yourself out. You can't even communicate what you tell people who you serve.
That's a good point, man. Like I can see when you get clear about who it is, you can do more with the dollars you have to spend.
That's correct.
Like trying to spend $1 across 500 people that are random versus spending whatever the number I just said was for a smaller number. Your dollar stretches further with fewer people, so you can actually get more done in your marketing.
Absolutely.
So correct.
Really good. It's really good. Wow. What other things are coming up for you guys in this conversation? Like, what are we missing? What else needs to be said about knowing who to market to?
I think something in there that Arnell said, like once you realize who you're targeting persona wise, right? Like it's exactly what you're just saying. You're able to get very specific and you're able to spend a lot less money. But the other cool part is when you're dealing with the same customer type over and over again, you become way more efficient. Like it's not just getting like, yes, it's getting good at the marketing piece. You can start to whittle that down and it's very predictable on when they're going to convert and who's going to convert, but it also affects the rest of your business. I know I'm here to talk about marketing, but like you get into a point, one of the reasons we pick niches is because a lot of what we do becomes copy and paste, so to speak, right? Like I can just restart that same process. I don't lose time and money trying to work the process for somebody new. We do the same exact thing for whoever comes in the door to onboard. And we run that same process. And it's the same thing with the marketing, right? If I know I need more customers, I take that same kind of deal. And now I can just, if I'm on Facebook running that campaign, now I can run a similar campaign on LinkedIn or a similar campaign on Google, and even to effectively the same landing page to basically convert and close. So there's a lot of efficiency that becomes built in when you're dealing with a persona and you know where to go because of the persona. Again, I'm not going to go on Facebook looking for a 16-year-old to buy something from me at this point. I'm going to Snapchat or Instagram, but I'm not going to go on Snapchat or Instagram if my demographic is in their 70s.
Right. Yeah. Right. Good point.
That's true.
Speaking of that, like I was trying to play with this idea a little bit. So if we had a what do you call a retirement community? What's the right PC way to call? What do you call?
Pretty much what you just said.
Okay. All right. I think it's evolved over time, right? So, a senior community, whatever. I think if let's say they got really niche specific, I'm just playing with this here, but if they got very niche specific and they're like, you know what, we really like art, right? Whether it's paintings or it's music, like what we want to build is a community of, especially if you're a senior community and you know that there's power in the community, like what creates retention and great reviews is that people love being in the community. Well, you want to build a community around an idea. And if the idea is art, you go, okay, well, who we're targeting is people who love art. So now you can market in art magazines. You can go to art. You can have events with, that are like open house events with art as a part of the event. And all of a sudden you're taking all this stuff and you're putting it into the persona who's really going to be like, there is no other retirement community like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, even down into some of your filters in Facebook when you're doing your targeting on Facebook, those hobbies, those interests that they have, it's the same thing. You know, so that's absolutely spot on. It tends in that particular industry, it tends to be more around the type of help they may need.
Yeah, I get that. Sure.
If they need an actual nurse on staff or an actual doctor on staff, or they have a specific challenge that they're dealing with at that stage in their life, right?
That's true.
So that tends to be a little more common, and then those other interests become kind of secondary, but you're absolutely spot on in the same way with all of those things.
I feel like this is where I get excited about the consulting of things. It's like a puzzle to put together, you know, like people come in, you're like, well, tell me about what you do. Like, but as boomers begin to retire and they're, like that senior living community niche is going to get really competitive. And if what you're trying to compete on is, well, we have this level of nurses and all of a sudden, like you're competing on all the same things. The thing that's going to be the differentiator is the secondary interests of the persona, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
I think
unless you're specialized, right? Like if you're,
there you go.
If you're specializing in cardiac, maybe the people down the street don't. If you're specializing in maybe renal care, maybe the people down the street don't. So but you're absolutely right. After a little while, it's going to become this thing of, okay, there's multiple facilities. Now, what's the thing that creates the positioning and the differentiator?
Yeah.
You have to understand your personas to figure that out.
I think that's the beauty of this conversation. Like when you know who you're marketing to, you can always ebb and flow as the market changes. Like if what happens is more and more competition floods the market because that market is growing. And then like, well, we have a cardiac specialty. And so we have this is what happens, right? Is everybody starts to one up, and that's how it evolves.
That's correct.
Then, and I saw this with Russell Brunson a while back. He was talking about, like originally you had like your key things like health, relationships, finance, money. And then there it went into niches. And then from niches, we went into like micro markets. Like at some point the differentiator for you will always be, and I'm just piggybacking off what you guys said, but it will always be getting into the nuances of who you're trying to talk to.
Absolutely. And the people who've already had their personas in place and have already like the deep dive into them are the ones who are going to win big. Yeah.
So good. I love that. Well, any last bits of wisdom, guys, for people who are like, okay, I want to take my marketing to the next level. I'm ready to sort of, pare it down into a persona. Like, what's a great place to start? What should I be thinking about?
So if you're B2B, LinkedIn is a great place to use as a tool to build your persona, because you can actually use real people for that research and start to look at what's common and then build your persona off of what's common from those people. If you're dealing with something that's more B2C, you can use Facebook as that tool and start to look at people's Facebook profiles and look at their interests and their hobbies and go into groups that share those hobbies. And you get a large group of folks compiled where you can just look through their profiles and say, they go to universities or they don't, right? Or they tend to all go to the same high school or come from the same region or they don't, right? Like you can start to build those things out based on the people you already know.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I think Chris, and once you know the personas, like for example, for me, I evaluate all my networking organizations I'm part of, and a lot of them don't have the personas of the people I want to be in. So I have to shift over there. I have to shift to where the business owners are, where they're active are, because the reality is, we all can help a lot of people, but it doesn't mean our business is helped. Right. So I need to shift my networking to, people in the personas I have. Join the organizations, get involved. Yep. Because at the end of the day, it's not that we can't help, it's we got to help the business be successful. And I always tell people is once you know the target market and it's the right persona, and you like networking, we need to go there where they're at. We need to go there. We need to meet them. We need to have the conversation with them. Tim's great at figuring out how to do it on digital, online, and inbound. Because if you have inbound and you have networking simultaneously, your business will explode. And then the bottom line, it's easy to scale when you're based it on personas.
Right. Yeah, that's really good. I love that. Well, listen, guys, if Tim, specifically, if people want to connect with you to help them develop out that persona, because I know you have ninja skills around these tools that help you kind of like figure out the analytics of personas. Where can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Easiest way is probably going to be through our website, eternalworks.com, ETERNALWORKS, or just reach out to me directly, 757-271-4539, extension 102.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Tim. And Arnell, I know as the business therapist, it's just, you always have great perspective. You're a great sounding board for people who are thinking about these types of things. So like, Arnell, I'm trying to figure out like, who do I serve? Where do I go? I think you're really great at that. If people want to connect with you, where can they go?
Yeah, just go to my website, which is www.tanyag.net, TANYAG.net.
Perfect. Awesome. Good stuff again, gang. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch you next time. And until then, take care.
All right, thank you.